I'm back and it's chilly out. The temperatures have fallen, much like the leaves. So I am back in my husband's old green sweatshirt, which means there's going to be more work done today. Back in the field, and I've got this little tree here. After my last video, I thought I was trying to decide what to do. If I wanted to do like a time-lapse video, I decided I'm just going to do a descriptive one about the process from the last time. Things that I learned after my first Tordon experience is that it's not fun work and it's not rewarding work. So by that I mean there's a lot of kneeling. It's hard on the back, it's hard on the knees, hunching over, squatting, just to get everything cut down. And then I found I needed to cut and apply it at the same time, or else I never would find the tree. So you can't really get into a groove. It's a process, or maybe it's a very slow moving groove. And then, well, why don't I just show you? So to start off, got my fancy blue gloves on, which over that I put my gardening gloves. Tordon is very toxic. Its purpose is to kill, and it has all of this instructions. So it's a little bit daunting, I would say. I'm kind of a nervous person when it comes to chemicals. But when things need to die, they need to die. And this is a section they recommend using gloves that are chemical proof. The nice thing about Tordon is that it's this bright blue color. So when you do apply it, you know that you've applied it. One thing that I learned last time was that it helps to have a good container. So there's different methods of doing Tordon, and I'm doing just the paint method, and I'm thankful because it's always windy here. Today's a mild day, which is why I'm back out here, but usually in Kansas it's just windy. So doing any kind of aerosol spray is nerve-wracking when it's talking about, don't do it by anywhere that it could get into consumable, edible foods. And you don't want to apply it around trees that you want to keep, and it stays in the ground up to a year and blah da 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 da. So it's a little bit stressful. So I have my little paintbrush so that I have good control on it. And they say that it's important to you want to hit the cambrium, or make sure you hit the cambrium, which makes sense because that's where the xylem and the phloem are taking in and the growth hormones. Sorry. There's a skunk smell. Not what you want to smell when you're sitting in the field making a video. Sorry. Oh man. I don't think thankfully it's faint. I would know if it was towards me, this video would have ended. So anyways, back to what we're doing. This little tree and many others like it are gonna go. Oh, I wonder if our neighbors just caught a skunk. Oh man. So my husband has been sprayed from like 4 feet away by a skunk. So I know, man, this is not as bad as it would be if it were near me. And I know they've been trying to catch and trap some of the various critters, and I think they were just successful. So sorry, this is unexpected, a little part of country living. Okay, there's our tree. I'm gonna try and secure just doing this. Okay, here are, so you can see I've matted down the grass. I would prefer to do this after I burned. I think it'd be simpler if the grass were burned, but he recommended to doing it before the burning, and I don't feel confident enough in my methods and reasoning yet. So I'm going with what the pros recommend. He being the biologist. Sorry. This is such a... Now, this is just me describing my process. I'm not recommending, and I'm not prescribing, I'm describing. So, I have my handy dandy chompers. That's what we call them. These are the big, good chompers. That's their technical term. Chomp. And then there's the Tordon. Just putting that in there. And I'm going to put the lid right on because I do not want this getting knocked over and spilling. That would be horrible. Okay, so you can see blue. And I've got my paintbrush. Dip it in the Tordon. Press it on the sides. And then I'm brushing it liberally, making sure I hit the cambrium so it just soaks it in and takes it down to the root and will stop growing. Which, you know, we have a ton of trees on our property. We love trees, but in this field, you know, we get to decide that we don't want the trees. So, here is, I don't know, 50 more to do. I don't know if you can see them behind me. Lots of happy little trees, as Bob Ross would say. But this is going to be a field, not a forest. Forest is behind me and around me. But it's okay to have a field for the pollinators to enjoy. So, okay, I am off to do some more of that. Cutting and Tordon painting. So I just cut down this tree and was tossing it, and look what I noticed. Oh my goodness. I'm so glad it's cold out. A good reason to do this in the fall is surprises like that. Slow moving surprises. And also, I'm not as concerned about snakes in the tall grass. So, between this and the skunk, it's quite the little adventure I'm having today. So, believe it or not, this is a tree. It's not a shrub or a bush. But it's also a prime example of why Tordon is so wonderful. Because what this is a tree that's been cut down probably every spring or every time I burn. And so instead of one trunk, it now has all these suckers that have grown up. And I'm excited to treat it so that it dies, so that I won't keep coming back and making more work for myself. The song says that you have to be cruel to be kind. I think that's how it goes. And doing this seems cruel, but it'll be much kinder on myself for the future. And this tree has served its purpose. I mean, this isn't a red bud. It's not a red bud. It's not a red bud, but it's also not a redwood or Joshua tree, or, you know, it's not part of the Oyamel forest. This is not an endangered species. There are literally, I don't know how many of these I've cut down. They're prolific. So I'm being kind to myself by cutting these, killing them so that they die from it, not so that they come back with more cuts needed next year. So I find that in the cutting and in the painting of these happy little trees, it feels like a Bob Ross project, but it helps to think more Marie Kondo and just thank it for its service. Recognize that it doesn't bring joy to my life anymore, and be done with it and move on.